Welcome back, students. Let us continue with the isometric projections now. In the previous video, we have completed drawing isometric projections of a rectangular prism. Okay, and after that we finished a vertical cylinder, and then we finished a hemisphere. So now you know that whenever we have rectangular prism or a cube, it's very easy to draw because you will directly take the side into consideration and directly draw. And next we did one more thing, that is a cylinder. So you now know that the circle will look like an ellipse, and you know how to do that. First we have to draw the outer envelope of that, which is equal to the side of the diameter, and then we have to make the ellipse inside that. I have told you the methods of drawing ellipse, and also we have seen hemisphere. So in the case of hemisphere, as I told you, you have to initially draw the ellipse on the top, and then whenever there is a sphere involved, you will always take the true radius. In all the other cases, we usually take iso heights and iso distances, but when in case of sphere, we always take the radius as true. The height is always iso, but the radius of drawing the circle is always true value. Okay, so in continuation with that, next we will go for next set of solids to be drawn, which is quite difficult, not difficult I would say, but quite different to be drawn. That is pyramids and prisms. Okay, so when you have a square prism, it's easy. Now I am talking about pentagonal and hexagonal pyramids and prisms. So we know pentagonals will have 5 sides and hexagon will have 6 sides. So we have to draw the isometric projections of these objects. So these are the objects where you have to compulsorily draw the orthographic projection of the orthographic views. Without drawing the orthographic views, it is not possible for you to do the isometric projection of this particular solids, whatever I am going to do now. Alright, so you should draw the top view and front view, and very clearly you have to draw the envelope, box, everything, and that has to be transferred into the isometric sheet. Alright, so marks will be considered for this orthographic view also, because without the orthographic drawing, it is not possible to draw isometric drawing. So you will have to show the orthographic drawings. Okay, so let us take a question on this. Draw the isometric projection of a hexagonal pyramid of base side 30 mm and axis length 60 mm when it is resting on the base on HP. Okay, so it's a question where you have a hexagonal pyramid, base side is given and axis length is given. So you have to draw the isometric projection of this particular pyramid. Okay, so first as I told you, it's mandatory now. You have to draw the top and front views, orthographic view on the left hand side of the sheet. Okay, so what you have to do is first draw the top view. So it's a hexagon of side 30 mm. Okay, so first you have to draw the hexagon, and then it's a pyramid, right? So you will have to join all the corners to the center point. You have to find the center point of this. Okay, so this is what I told you. You have to connect it from all the corners, from the corner A, B, C, D, E and F. So you will get the center point, that is O and O1. From the center you will have to project it to the XY line, and the height of the axis is given, that is 60 mm. Okay, height of the axis is given 60 mm. It's a pyramid, remember. So you will have to join from that point to the corners. Alright, then we will go for the isometric drawing, but this is something very important what I want to explain. Before going for the isometric drawing here, you have the hexagon, right? So you know in isometry what you do is you only draw the 230-degree line, but there are 6 sides here, hexagon. So it is not possible to draw a hexagon here directly, isn't it, at an angle of 30 degrees. So what has to be done is, in all the isometric problems, your base, the first line should always be a 4-sided figure, a boundary like this. you have to actually relocate this hexagon inside this one. Okay, so what you have to do here is you need to create a boundary, just like how we did it for the case of circle. Right? Similarly, you will have to create a boundary. So you can see here what we have done. So around this hexagon, we will just draw a line like this, and the extreme endpoints will come here. So you have to draw an object like this. So maybe when you're drawing also, you will find it difficult how to draw. So what to do? One side is parallel, right? This side. So extend the line on either side. Okay. Same way from the other side also extend the line. Then what you have to do? You get this. You already have this projection, isn't it? So wherever that meets, so that will be the boundary on either side. Same way projections will be there. You have already drawn this. So you have to extend this line till here. You have to extend this line till here and complete the box. Drawing the box becomes very, very important because you are taking the distances with respect to these box only. So if your box itself is wrong, then the distance what you take is also wrong. Okay. And one more important thing I want to tell you here, students. See, there is two possibility of drawing this. One, you are drawing the hexagon with the true scale. Got it? You are drawing the hexagon with the true scale. That means you are taken actually 30 here. Okay, not ISO 30. And you have really taken 30, a real actual 30 here. And then let's say you have drawn the hexagon. Then all these distances what you are going to get here are also going to be real length only, not ISO lengths, right? So when you are taking the distance from here and keeping it on the isometric grid sheet, then you will have to convert that distance into ISO. Directly you can't keep, isn't it? So what I'm trying to tell you is, suppose you are taking this distance 30. So if you take this 30 and directly place it here, it will be actual 30. It won't be ISO 30. So in the grid sheets, okay, if we can say 30, you mark 1, 2, 3 and keep, then it becomes 30. But directly if you take the length here and place it over here, it won't be ISO. So what you have to actually do is take every length, convert that into ISO and then place it here. For example, let's see, what I'm trying to tell you is, I will want the distance from B to this end of this box. Got it? B to end of this box. So this distance, if I had drawn it with the actual scale, this distance will not be ISO, isn't it? Whatever distance you get, let's assume that this distance is 10 from here to here. So I cannot take that 10 directly and keep it there. Why? Because it is not in ISO, it's in the actual scale. So I will have to convert it into ISO 10 and then place it over in the grid sheet. So that will become too much difficult according to me, because every time you will have to convert the scale, every distance when you take, okay, you have to convert it into ISO and then place it. So what I would suggest is, when you are drawing this hexagon, right, on the orthographic view, when you draw this hexagon itself, you don't take actual 30, but take the size of the hexagon itself as ISO 30. That is 30 into 0.8164 if you do, whatever distance you get, no? That distance only you draw the hexagon. Got it? Don't draw it to the actual scale. Then what will happen? So if you are drawing the hexagon itself in the ISO scale, then all the distances what you are going to measure will also be in ISO only. I hope I am making myself clear here, right? If you are drawing the orthographic diagram with actual scale, that is actually 30 mm only if you measure and draw the hexagon of 30 mm, just like how you do it in planes and solids, then when you take it to ISO, you will have to convert it every time from this 30 to ISO 30, from whatever distance you are taking to be converted into ISO and placed it. Rather, what I am saying is, if you first initially, before drawing itself, if you could convert this 30 into ISO, that is 30 into 0.8164, or you have the isometric scale, isn't it? I have already explained that, 45 degree and 30 degree. So there in 45 degree you have 30 and you take the projection and take the distance from at the 30 degree. So you will already get ISO 30 distance. So take that distance and draw a hexagon of that size only. Instead of 30, take ISO 30. So ISO 30 is obviously 30 into 0.8. So whatever distance you will get, around 20, I don't know, close to that, 20, 24, 22 you may get. So that distance you take. So if you draw the hexagon of that particular shape, then the box what you are representing outside will also be in ISO only, no? Because you have taken ISO hexagon means the box also will be in ISO. So there is no need to convert it again. Okay, so that is what I will say. So draw the hexagon with the dimension of isometric only. Okay, after that, here the naming is not done, okay, but I will still suggest you, so that you don't get confused, to name this. You have named the hexagon A, B, C, D, E and F, but the box what we have done around the hexagon, we have not named it. It would be better if you could name it, so it becomes easy. Let's say you name it as 1, 2, 3 and 4. Got it? Just name it as 1, 2, 3 and 4. Here the naming is not done, but I am asking you people to name it when you are doing it in your books. So write it as 1, 2, 3 and 4, so that you don't get confused. Now what you are doing, you are placing this 1, 2, 3, 4 box in the 30-degree line here. Okay, so let's measure the distance. Let's assume that we have taken this distance in ISO only. It's ISO 30, not actual 30. Then what will happen? I will measure the distance from here to here, this distance, and I will keep that same distance over here. Okay, so that is 1 and 2. For example, 1 and 2 distance I will measure from here to here, so I will keep it like this. Same way, if this is 1, if this is 2, if this is 3, if this is 4, then 1, 4 I will keep it here. So 1 to 4 distance I will measure and I will place it over here. Same way, from here to here I will draw a 30-degree line. From 2 I have already got, so I will take a 30-degree line. So I get 1, 2, 3 I will get here and 4 I will get here. So I will first reproduce the box. That is my first thing to do. After drawing this orthographic view, I will take this particular box and I will place it over here. That's why it will do the namings 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 1 to 2 will be here, 1 to 4 will be here. So from here you draw 30-degree line, from here end point you draw another 30-degree line. It will intersect at some point, that point will be 3. So you get 1, 2, 3 and 4. So what I am trying to say is, this is what you are going to get. So this box whatever you have drawn, this is point number 1, this is 2, this is 3 and this is 4. So you have actually taken this box and turned it to 30-degree and placed it over here. I hope I have made it very clear till here. Okay. Next, what you have to do, now this is something interesting you have to see. Now I will, as I mentioned that this is 1 and this is 2, so 1 and 2 will come here. So you know that BC will come in between 1 and 2, right? So I will measure the distance from 1 to B, whatever distance is there, 1 to B. I will mark 1 is here, so 1 to B distance whatever will be there, I will make a mark here and this point will be B. Same way I will measure from 2 to C, what is the distance here. So from 2 I will mark that point C. So I would get the point BC here. Same way I will measure the distance from 2 to D. This distance I will measure 2 to D. So from here to D I will measure, I will get the point D. Okay. Then I will measure from 1 to, between this 1, 4 line I will measure the distance from 1 to A. So from 1 to A I will measure and I will make a mark here A. So this way I will find all the points. A will be here, B will be here, C will be here, D will be here. Similarly, E and F will be here, so that I will get the hexagon. So what I am actually doing is, I am finding the 6 points like this. Got it? I am locating the 6 points. So what I have located right now is, this point is A, this point is B, this point is C, this point is D, this point is E and this point is F. Okay, so this is how you have to do when you don't have the object as square. So that's what I told you. When you have the object as a square, that's particularly cube or a rectangular prism, it becomes very easy because the object itself is square. So directly you will take two edges and take it upwards and draw. But when it is coming to pentagon and hexagon, this is how you have to do it. You have to make, I will not say this to pentagon is also same thing. Okay, hexagon, if you understand, you should be able to do pentagon also. Same construction for pentagon, same way you will make a box around that. First get the box on the isometric scale and get the individual points. Okay, so did you understand how to take the hexagon? So hexagon was straight. So now from this hexagon we have converted this hexagon into isometric view. I hope it's clear, right? So that's why I told you here I have not put the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. So I told you to put the number for the boxes here 1, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, so that you can mark it here also 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's easy for you to identify this hexagon. So this point is A, this point is B, C, D, E and F. Okay, so next, that is only the base that is over. Now we have to draw the entire pyramid, right? So what you have to do, we have to identify the center. So how to identify the center? So center will be identified, So center will be identified from this box only in the orthographic view here. So this is the box, isn't it? The entire box. So the center will be here. So you'll draw a line perpendicular like this and draw a line like this. So this intersection point will be the center. So same thing you will do here also. When you are reproducing that drawing, what you will do? You will take one center line like this. Same way what you did here. See, A to D is one line. So A to D you are drawing one line. Then one more line will come in the middle between E and F and B and C. So between E and F center point and this line you will draw. So you will locate the center. Got it? You will locate the center. So from this center you will take the height of the axis. So what is the height of the axis? Axis height is 60 mm. Yeah, 60 mm is given. So from this center you will take ISO 60 again, not actual 60. Everything should be in ISO. Remember that this distance is ISO 30. This all sides are equal to ISO 30, and that is why I asked you to draw the orthographic view also as ISO 30. Otherwise every time you have to convert, isn't it? You have to take the distance from 1 to B, which is true length, which has to be converted to ISO and then drawn. That's why I told you to draw in the ISO scale itself. So when you take the center, the height also should be ISO. So from here you will take ISO 60 height like this, and then this point is O, isn't it? You reach the apex point. So from here you have to join all the corners. Okay, so while drawing this particular hexagon also, I want all of you to draw it very light, because I've been saying this in all the problems. See, please don't make anything darker in any of the drawings, not only in isometry, in any drawing for that matter. You make everything light first, and finally you decide what is to be made darker. If you start drawing dark in the beginning itself and later on you realize, okay, this shouldn't have been dark, this should have been projection, this should have been hidden or whatever. So in any case, the best thing to do is draw everything in very thin, okay, projection line thickness, and then finally after drawing you decide what is to be dark. Even in solids here also. So here also this hexagon you make it light, take the axis height, and then from there you connect it to all the points 1, 2, 3 and 4. Actually there is 5 and 6 also to be joined, isn't it, to all the points. So now this is what I want to tell you. Here if you see, you know that these two edges, if I name them, it's A, B, C. So D and E are coming on the back side, isn't it? D and E are coming on the back side, so definitely they won't be visible. So you don't have to actually draw that only, and even if you're drawing it, you have to draw it very, very light. So in isometry, it's very important for us to visualize the visible part only. We don't have to draw hidden lines, we don't have to draw anything in the back. Even if you don't draw, the back side portion is also right. Actually, that is how the view should be. But just to understand that you have done the construction, you can retain that as light line, just like how it is shown here. Okay, so now we see what part of the base is visible. So you know that this part of the base is visible, this is visible, this is visible, but this won't be visible because it is going on the inside. So this won't be visible, this won't be visible. So these lines have to be darker. Got it? So you can see now. So this becomes the final view of the drawing. Got it? So we are not showing any hidden lines, no dotted lines, no hidden lines, nothing. Whatever is visible will be shown dark and clean. So inner lines, even if you erase it also, no problem. But if you retain it, it's better, because the observer, the evaluator, or the person who is checking it will understand that you have done it properly, and that's why you have kept it light inside. But the whatever portion is visible has to be made very dark. Okay, so that will complete this particular drawing. So if you want to do the namings, you can do A, B, C, and E, F are, sorry, D and E are not visible. Okay, so this is how you draw an isometric projection of a pyramid. Okay, and prism also same way, isn't it? So once I say pyramid, prism also same way. But anyways, I'll explain our next problem on prism itself. But the difference is, in prism, you have to draw the base as well as you have to draw the top portion. In pyramid, only the base. From the center, you will take the height, and that will be the apex point. From there, join to all the corners, and then clearly visualize what is to be seen and what will come behind. So whatever comes on the behind should not be drawn or should not be made darker. Only what is visible has to be made very dark, like this. Okay, so this is the isometric projection of a hexagonal pyramid. Okay, so we will take another problem. This is hexagonal prism. The previous problem was hexagonal pyramid. So let's see how to do the hexagonal prism. So the concept will remain the same. How to do the base will not change, but here in this case, we had only base in the case of pyramid and directly joining to the tip, right? So prism means, you have the same hexagon base as well as same hexagon top. Okay, so let's go to the question first. A hexagonal prism of base side 30 mm and axis length 60 mm is resting on HP on its base, with the side of the base parallel to VP. Okay, draw the projections of the prism. So there will be some conditions given, so we will have to draw the sketch accordingly. It is said that in this case it's resting on HP on its base, with one of the sides being parallel to VP. Okay, so you should understand what is the condition given here, because they make you question like this. So even though your drawing may be right, because isometry, it's just a view that you're drawing, but still, as per the question, if you see what does this condition mean, one of the side being parallel to VP. So how should I start the drawing? In edge condition or in corner condition? You need to ask, because one edge should be parallel to VP means how it should be. If let's assume if I start in edge condition, will that edge be parallel to VP? None of the edges of the hexagon will be parallel to VP if you start with edge condition, right? So you have to start with corner condition. So that means, as per the question, they are saying that one of the edges, let's take this edge is parallel, no? And this edge as well. So these edges parallel to VP, isn't it? This is not parallel to VP, this is not parallel to VP, but one of the edges parallel to VP. So we have to do it corner. Suppose if you had done it in edge condition, what will happen? See, the two lines will come like this. So those lines will become perpendicular to VP. They will not be parallel to VP. And none of them will be parallel, isn't it? So as per the question given, it's resting on HP on its base with the side parallel to VP, means you will have to keep it like this. Okay. So it's a prism. So there is no need to join thick lines from the center here. So let's do the namings. And then do the envelope. Okay, you can actually do the front view also, but as far as my drawing is concerned, there is no need for drawing the front view, but it's better if you do the front view also. And you would have seen this in the previous problem as well, isn't it? We only need the axis height from the front view. We really don't need the drawing in the front view, whatever it is there. Okay, so I would suggest you to draw the front view also when you draw the orthographic view. But anyways, what is needed is this hexagon in this case and the box. So what will you do now? If I say draw the hexagon, I would again suggest you to draw this in iso scale only in the orthographic view. This one, 30 mm. I would suggest to draw it in ISO 30, so that the hexagon itself is done in ISO 30, and then the box whatever you get will also be in ISO. So we can directly take that particular length. Okay, if you do in true scale only, it becomes difficult, no, from true 30 to again converting that into ISO and keeping it on the drawing. So this will be better to draw it in ISO scale only, so that I can directly take the values which is already in ISO and directly place it over there. Okay, so we will draw this 30-degree line. Okay, so I will reproduce the square there. So I will again name it. So naming is not done here. So I would want you to do 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that means 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if you can reproduce this, I don't think I need to again explain that. You know that, isn't it? You take the distances directly on either side, 1, 4 and 1, 2 on this side as well as on the other side, and get the next point, and you complete that. Now you have to get the base. So what will you do now? You will measure the distance from 1 to B, this distance. From 1 to B you will take the distance and make a mark. 2 to C you will make the distance. From 2 to C you will take the distance, get the point, so that you get this particular edge. Same way from here to here, it will be in the center of course, but still you will measure it from here to here and you get this particular point D. Same way measure it from this distance, keep it at here, measure the distance, you will get this point E, bracket E. Same way you will measure the distance from here in the compass, keep the compass here and measure the distance, you get F, bracket U, and point A, bracket P will be in the center. So once you get that, you get all the 6 points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so that is how you will get the points. One, 2, 3, 4 and 5, 6. 6 points you will get, and you will complete the hexagon. Now after you complete the hexagon, you know that you will not directly take the center and go to the top. Here what will be the case? It's a prism. So whatever sketch is there in the base, the same sketch has to be there on the top. But reproducing that will be very easy actually, because base is already there. Now you just have to project it upwards. So while projecting it upwards, again I have to construct the box, isn't it? Just like how I have a base and I've made that hexagon, you do again need not make one more time base and again find the distances and cut the arc, because that whatever is there on the bottom, the same thing will be there on the top, right? So what you do is just copy the entire thing to the top. That means reproduce the same object here, right? So you already got this base. So from there you know the axis height. What is the axis height? 60. So from for example, if this is 1, this is 60, ISO 60, from 2 ISO 60, from 3 ISO 60, from 4 ISO 60. So you will get one more 1, 2, 3, 4 box on the top as well. Got it? But everything should be light. I'm repeating that again. Everything should be light. Okay? So you get the top also. Now, is it necessary for us to again take the distance from 1 to here and again place each of the distance? We have already done that here, isn't it? So there is no need to again go and measure every distance and cut the arcs and get the different points. What you do is, height is 60, right? So from every point here, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60, 60. So when you measure, project it all the points upwards from these 6 points of the base of the hexagon, you will get the similar hexagon on the top. So what you have to do? Just project it from all the points. Again, very, very light. Got it? So once you get the bottom face, from there you can directly project it upwards to each of the points on the top. So you similarly get the top faces, top points, and you can join the top face. So the top face is directly drawn in black because you know that everything is visible there. It's a top face, isn't it? So nothing will be going on the back side. So top hexagon, completely it will be visible, but not the base. That you have to decide. So that is why we have not yet done it dark. Only the top is done dark. Now it's for you to see properly and visualize what will be visible and what will be hidden. So if you observe carefully, this total hexagon is of course visible. What about this line? Will this be visible? Yes, it is visible. Okay. What about this line? This is also visible. What about this line? This is also visible. What about this line? This is also visible. So if I'm doing the naming, if I'm not wrong, this is A, right? So line from A will be visible, line from B will be visible, line from C will be visible, line from D which is coming inside is not visible, line coming from E is also not visible, line coming from F will actually fall outside, so that will be visible. So D and E will not be visible. So when you check the base also, this point A to B will be visible, B to C will be visible, but C to D is not visible, D to E is not visible, E to F is not visible. Okay, only the edge will be visible. So inner portion, nothing will be visible. So you have to keep it either very light or remove it. That's up to you, but better to keep it because you've already done the drawing. Why to again erase it? So let's keep it very, very light, and whatever is visible, let us make it dark. So this will be the isometric projection of hexagonal prism. So you can very clearly see there, right? So inner lines are kept in blue, only the outer lines are kept in black. So whatever is in black is visible, whatever is in blue are actually coming on the back side. So you need not show it in the case of isometry. Got it? So this is the view, final view. You have to get it like this. I hope it's clear now. So we have done one problem on pyramid and then one problem on prism. 2 problems we have completed. So I hope if when you go to your solutions or question bank and see, you will have these several problems like this. Okay, all I have done till now is all individual object, isn't it? I have done one pyramid, I have done one prism, then one hemisphere, and one rectangular prism, and one cylinder, right? But if you see the question bank and if you see the solution book, you would generally find these things will be there, one will be there, but you will definitely find 2 things, one above the other. Okay, 2 or 3 in most of the cases. Okay, so you will not be asked only a hexagonal prism or only a hexagonal pyramid. Generally the questions will be, there will be an hexagonal prism and on top of that there will be one more thing. Okay, for example, on top of this there could be a sphere. So it's very easy actually if I say there is a sphere on top of this. So what you have to do, From this center you will find the center. From that center you will take the height of the radius, isoradius. From there you will draw one circle with the actual radius. So the two objects will be completed. Okay, I hope I am making it clear. Let's assume that on top of this prism there is a ball or a sphere of 50 mm diameter, let's say. So what you will do, you will find the center of this. From the center you will take isoradius. Okay, when if it's a sphere you will take iso 25 as the height. Then if it's a full sphere, then from there you will take actual 25 as the radius and you will draw the circle. And while drawing the circle, whatever portion comes behind has to be made light and the remaining portion has to be made dark, like that. So object will be there. So if you just refer to your solution book, you will understand what I am talking about. So you will have multiple objects. So there will be one cube, on top of the cube there will be a sphere, or there is one cone, and on top of the cone there is one hemisphere. Okay, or there are one cube, on top of that there is another cube, or just like what I have told now, you have one hexagonal prism, on top of that there is a sphere, or one cylinder, on top of the cylinder there is a cone. So questions will be like that. So you should be able to do it because I have explained all the things individually. But if there are two things, you have to consider that first part is done and the second part is the base for the first part. I mean, first part will be the base for the second drawing and you will draw the second one on top of that. Okay. Okay, students, in the previous video I had explained to you about cylinder, right? So in the similar lines, I just want to tell you about cone also. So cone is much more easier than cylinder actually, if you see. So I'll just show you this part. Okay, so let us say you have done the base. So everybody knows till here, right? So now if it's a cone, if the same question was asked, draw the isometric projection of a vertical cone of base diameter 50 mm and axis 60 mm. But instead of cylinder, it's a cone. So what you will do, you will do this base, everything. You will take the axis height and then it's very, very simple actually. It's a cone, right? So there is no need to draw top surface. This is the apex. From here, you will draw a line tangent to this curve. You will draw one more line tangent to this curve. So that becomes a cone. Just like pyramid, I have just explained in the previous problem about one hexagonal pyramid and hexagonal prism. So same thing will apply for cylinder as well as cone. So when it is a cone, what you do, this much portion of the drawing will be same, but you need not redraw another ellipse on the top. That is when in the case of cylinder. If it is in the case of cone, what you do, you will directly go to the tip of that. From there you will draw a line. Okay. But while drawing a line, you should be careful. This line has to be tangent to this curve. Same way from here, this has to be tangent to this curve. Of course, so whatever comes in front of that will be visible and on back side of that will be not visible. So this will be a cone. Okay. So that is one more thing I wanted to explain. Okay. So now after this particular problem, whatever I have explained now. So I think we have finished cylinder and also I have explained cone. I have told you hemisphere. I have told you a pyramid and a prism. Okay. So in the next problem, I will tell you something called as frustums. What do you mean by frustum? Okay. So we'll take a problem on frustum. Alright. So I was talking about frustum. So you can see the question here. Draw the isometric projection of a frustum of a cone of base diameter 60 mm, top face diameter 36 mm and axis length 50 mm, which rests on HP on its base. Now what do you mean by a frustum? Till now, whatever solids we have been talking about, prisms, pyramids, cone, cylinder, cubes or whatever, they are completely, the solid is completely there, isn't it? If I say a pyramid, means the entire pyramid is there. Or if I say a prism, entire prism is there. Now, when you say a frustum, this frustum is basically coming for pyramids and cones only, because for prisms, if I do, if I say frustum also, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so first of all, when you have pyramids and cones, so let us assume that instead of having the complete cone or a complete pyramid, if that pyramid is cut from the top somewhere, then what will happen? Or a cone, the entire cone is there, but the cone from the top, a small portion of that has been cut off from the top. So when you see that particular portion, you would definitely see a base which is being a circle for a cone example, and on the top also there will be a circle but of different radius, isn't it? So if the entire cone is there, top won't be anything, it will be a point, it will be an apex. But if I cut that, let's say exactly in the half, I just cut it, then what will happen? If I cut it, the top portion will also have a face, isn't it? The top face will also be a circle but with a different diameter. So that is what you mean by a frustum. So same way in case of pyramid also, if I am considering the entire pyramid, then on the top nothing will be there, it will be a point. But let's say I cut the pyramid from half, then what will happen? The base will be there as well as the top also will have a face. So if you want to draw the isometric projections of these frustums, then it becomes a little more difficult again compared to prisms, because prism it's the same. You just now I explained about a hexagonal prism, isn't it? Base is also same, top is also same. So what you do, base you will draw first, and then you will take the projections from there and get the top face. But when it is frustum, it is not like that. Why? Because the top face will be smaller than the base, isn't it? So you cannot directly project it up. So again you will have to draw it one more time. So that is what you mean by frustum. So let us just take a question on frustum here. Draw the isometric projections of a frustum of a cone of base diameter is 60 mm, but the top face diameter is 36 mm. That means the cone has been cut from between such that the top diameter will become 36. The base diameter will be 60, but the portion from where it is cut, the top face, whatever is there, will have the diameter of 36 mm. And the axis from that point to the top face is 50 mm. So you have to draw the isometric projection of this frustum of the cone. Okay, so first let us draw the orthographic view. Okay, so circle of diameter 60 mm first. Okay, and I will take the axis height is given 50 mm, but when I take it to 50 mm, that is not the apex actually, it is the top face of the cut section of the cone. So now you can see the sketch here. So in the top view it will look like this. Otherwise what will be there? A top point, isn't it? Now when it has been cut like this, from the top also you will see one circle, bottom also you will see one more circle. So this diameter is 36 and this diameter is 60. The base is 60, the top is 36. The same way if I draw the projections from there, the front view will look like this. So now I'm sure after seeing this all of you have understood the meaning of frustum. So that means the cone was actually till here somewhere and this was the shape of the cone. So we have just cut it from somewhere in between. So this is the frustum of a cone. Now what we have to do, we have to draw its isometric projections. So it is similar to cylinder initially, the base everything we will draw same way, but the drawing the top portion will be another task here. Okay, so what we will do now, we will draw the isometric projection. So 30 degree line we will draw. So first we have created a box outside here, right? One box is created outside and one more box is created inside. Anyways, for circle, as I told you, we will know box will have the dimension equal to the diameter of the circle. Only in the case of circle it is, but if it is in the case of any other pyramid for that matter, then the shape will change. You will have to draw the box and do it. But as far as circles are concerned, it's understood, right? The box, whatever you're doing, definitely will have edges will be equal to the diameter. So this side will be equal to the diameter, this side also will be equal to the diameter. So anyways, we can measure it or we can directly assume that and take. So we have to take the distance of ISO 60 this side and ISO 60 this side, because 60 is the base diameter, isn't it? And then complete the box. ISO 60, we get a box here. Okay, so we have completed the box with ISO 60 and ISO 60. And then you know the method to draw the ellipse. We have already explained this in a couple of problems in the previous video. So from this corner to the opposite midpoints, same way from the other corner to the opposite midpoints. So it will intersect in between. So you get all the centers to be drawing the ellipse. Okay. So what you have to do now? So we have to take this as the center, this as the radius, draw the arc. Then take this as the center, this as the radius, draw the arc. This as the center, this as the radius, draw the arc till here. Then this as the center, this as the radius, draw the arc here and get the base. Over. So again it should be light because we don't know, we need to know what portion has to be, will be going backside, and that has to be hidden. So this is about the base part. So it is not directly taking to the top and drawing one more time. We have to first find the center. Height is 50, axis height is 50, right? So from the center take ISO 50 height. Now this is important, okay? This is something that I have to explain here. In the previous problem, when it was a cylinder, it is not a big deal because you know the top face is also same. It is also ISO 60-60 you can draw. But now you have to draw the object. Now where you have reached actually, it is not from this point you are drawing 6 ISO, if it is 36 you are not taking 36 here. The point what you found here is the center, that means this point. So it is not that you are drawing it from here, it is not this point that we have got. Most of the students do that mistake, that's why I am repeating it. See, while drawing the base also, we took ISO 60 and ISO 60 from here, right? So then after drawing all these things, we got the center. So what we have here is actually the center here, not this point. This point is somewhere below this. Okay, so we need to get that point. So how do we get that point? So we got the center, right? So we need to measure this distance. If I take O as the center, OS and OQ, this line. So I will keep it here and get that on the 30-degree line. What is the distance from OS? From the center I will draw here, OS. Same way, what is the distance of OQ? I will draw from here, OQ. Same way, OP and OR I will measure, and on opposite 30-degree line, OP and OC, I'll get a plus mark here like this. Got that distances, right? I am measuring O to S from here, and it should be parallel to this line, OS and OQ. It will be down, same line, OS and OQ. So you will get one line like this and one more line like this way. I hope you got it now. Okay, so this is the points what I've got right now are these points now, P, S, R and C, or PQRS. P, Q, R and S is what I've got. So now I need to draw lines parallelly here, one parallelly to this and get the box. Now these are the extreme ends we have got, P, Q, R and S. So your box has to be like this. So draw a line parallel to this, draw one more line parallel to this, same way from these points, parallel here, and complete the box like this. Got it? So you have to first, what you are locating there is the center, and from the center you are measuring the distances on the either side, and with respect to those points you are completing the box on the top. I hope I have made it clear. If you want, I can explain it one more time. Okay, you will get the center here. From this center you got this point, so you need to know what is this distance, O to S. So O to S will be drawn like this, O to Q, from the same line O to Q this side, then O to P, O to R. So from here O to P, so the line what you are drawing here should be parallel to this line here, and line what you are drawing on this side should be parallel to this line, 30 degree, this also on the 30 degree. Okay, so you will draw that. Next, with respect to this 4 lines, I will draw the boundary along that like this. Everything should be drawn very light. Don't draw anything darker, draw everything light. Okay, so once you are able to draw this box then it is easy. Then the same procedure what you did in the bottom you have to repeat. What you have to do, you need to draw the ellipse. So this is the corner. From here you draw a line to the opposite midpoints. So points are already there actually. These are the midpoints, so it will directly connect here, from here, here. From the opposite midpoint, this is the midpoint. From here, this is the midpoint. And then you will get the intersection. So take this as the center and this as the radius, draw the arc. Then take this as the center, this as the radius, draw the arc, and of course the intersection wherever you get, here one arc and here one arc. Okay, so this is what I told you, drawing the opposite midpoints, and from the other corner also drawing to the opposite midpoint, so you get the intersection point. So from there draw the ellipse. So you can directly draw it darker because the top portion it is, so everything will be visible. And then while drawing the line you have to be very careful, students. You simply cannot draw a line like this wherever you want. You have to find the extreme end point of this ellipse. Okay, so let me just zoom that area. Okay, you have to find the extreme end point, so that will be this point and this point. So from here you will draw a line such a way that it's a tangent to this ellipse. See, please don't draw a line straight like this or somewhere here. You have to make sure, you have to keep your scale and adjust in such a way that this line will be tangent to this curve like this, and this line will be tangent to this curve. So it will generally be touching on this point only. Okay, specifically speaking, here as well as here, it will be touching here on the outer edge only, and these portions, inner sides, whatever is there, will be not visible. So this will be thick line, this will be thick line, and whatever portion comes after this one will be all this portion. After you draw the projection here, this portion will be dark black with respect to this line, dark from here, this line. So inner portions will be light. Okay, so you can see the projections that has been drawn, they have to be tangent. So this portion will be dark, the inner portion will be light. So this will be the final projection, isometric projection of a frustum of a cone. Okay, is that clear? So with these many things, I think majority of the problems you should be able to solve. I don't think there should be any difficulty in drawing the problem. Of course, there's one more uh, thing left, that is drawing the frustum of a pyramid. This is frustum of a cone I have explained, but frustum of the pyramid is also same procedure. There is nothing different, but this is just ellipse, right? There, if there is pentagon or hexagon, then you need to do a little more work, individually taking the points and doing it. So in the next problem I will explain the frustum of a pyramid, and then we will stop this class for today. But please go through these videos again and again and make sure that you are able to understand and draw whatever explanation is given. Okay. Students, I have to give you an assignment question. So I want you people to do this particular problem one, that is the same problem what is being displayed right now. The frustum of a cone of base diameter 60 and top face 36 mm and axis length 50 mm, which rests on HP on its base. So this will be the first problem that I want you to solve in the assignment. And another problem is the previous one which I did. Okay, that is hexagonal prism. Okay, hexagonal prism. In the video itself, I don't think this question will be you may find this question in question bank or something, so please go through that. That is problem number 8 right now, what is being displayed here. And I think the next one is hexagonal prism. That is problem number 2 in this video only. You can just roll back this video and see that. Okay, so as I told you, I have to do frustum of pyramid, right? So I think I will do that in the next class because it may take more time to explain. So anyways, I'll do that in the next class. But for time being, for today's assignment, I want all of you to complete this problem, that is drawing this frustum of a cone 1 and hexagonal prism. 2 problems you have to complete and submit it by today evening. All right. Okay, so we will stop the class here. Okay, and in the meantime, I would also want you people to do your regular work in the sketchbook. Okay, because I am still not sure whether you people have finished the solids or not. So I would expect that you should have finished the solids by now. I am not that only whatever assignment is told you will do that and submit. Your classwork has to happen regularly. Okay, there is no stopping your classwork. So by now you had to finish your solids. I don't know how many of you have really completed that, but anyways, if you have completed that, you can submit it in Google Classroom. Others, please try to finish it as early as possible, and please start with the isometric problems, because when we do this video, when we listen to that, and if you immediately start doing it, it will be in line. You will be following whatever I'm saying. And if you're not doing it now, when I'm doing isometry here and you're still doing solids or planes, then it doesn't make any sense. So please complete your solids as early as possible and submit it, all the problems, and then start with the isometric problems. So for today, yes, these 2 problems, frustum of a cone and hexagonal prism, is your assignment. But at the same time, go to your question bank, and I feel question number 1, question number 2 and question number 8 can be easily done, because they are all related to cubes only. So those problems can be done. So on the other hand, because we have classes only once in a week now, right? So I understand other days you have other works to do, but Saturday, Sundays you will be free anyways. But please take time to complete all the isometric, first of all complete your solids and then complete the isometric problems also, hand in hand. Okay, so I am giving assignment, that is just to make sure that you people have understood the concept what we are teaching. but it doesn't mean that you are not doing your sketchbooks. Your sketchbook work, your class work will go hand in hand. It will be done regularly. Okay, so those are finished solids, please submit that. Others, please try to complete it as soon as possible and submit. Okay, so assignment I will just repeat: frustum of a cone, this problem, and one more problem is hexagonal prism. So complete that and submit. Okay, thank you.